Team Tarani comprised of 6 Indian Naval women officers who came from different cadres and took on the expedition of Navika Sagar Parikrama. Lieutenant Commander Vartika Joshi was the skipper of this team. She takes her own time to come to a decision, but when she does, it becomes the team's decision. She's a very good leader. Lieutenant Commander Pratibha Jamwal is a Josh box and she was like the second in command. Lieutenant Commander Aishwarya Bodapati, she is one person who kept the team together. Lieutenant Commander Swati Pathrapalli was one person the team would have never been able to sail with. Lieutenant Commander Vijaya, very strong person mentally, who would stand by you if everything fell apart. Lieutenant Payal would always be a second to anyone who is attempting anything. As a team, they could achieve something that no one has ever achieved before.
This idea of circumnavigation in India was conceptualized by Vice Admiral Manohar Rawati. Any circumnavigation voyage includes several criteria. We need to start and finish at the same port. So we started our voyage from Goa, and after circumnavigating the planet, we came back to Goa. We were going to be the first military organization in the world to be attempting such a thing. We started this voyage on 10th of September 2017, and the voyage encompassed 4 planned stopovers, and there was a 5th emergency layover that we had to make in Mauritius.
The leg 1 consists of moving the distance of around 5,400 nautical miles, and then we went from India, started from Goa to the Fremantle, which is in Australia,
which took us 42 days to cover. This was the first leg, and this was the first time we were heading eastwards, whereas in all the 2.5 years of training, we had gone on voyages westwards on the planet.
Every leg had its own challenges because of the kind of weather that we faced. So first leg was from here to Australia, in which we ran out of water.
Our RO plant gave up and there was no water supplies which we were having. So whatever water we had, we did rainwater harvesting.
This leg taught us to appreciate the resources that we have and be resourceful and make use of those resources.
From Australia, we started for Littleton, and we took almost about 25 days to cross that patch. And we were kind of lucky enough that winds were supportive and we were getting good downwind thrust, and then we were moving with good speeds. Once we reached Littleton, it was almost like half of the journey is completed.
And the next leg was going to be the longest leg of the voyage, the leg 3, from New Zealand to the Falkland Islands through the South Pacific.
The most dangerous leg that we had, we crossed the entire South Pacific Ocean. We faced a lot of storms, and one was the major storm. It was hurricane force. The winds were at 150 kilometers per hour, and the sea was as high as 9 to 10 meters. So to put it in prospect, 9 to 10 meters is a 3-storied building.
It was the most difficult one, but it also gave us the confidence that yes, we can do it.
In those 19-20 hours with sub-zero temperatures and hailstorms coming in every couple of hours, we had to keep the boat safe. And in those times we realized how important it was to be with each other. So after 25 days, we crossed the Atlantic Ocean and we reached in Cape Town on the day of Holi. This was sort of, a celebratory leg because the last leg was our final leap back towards home.
Swati ma'am, what are you up to? Here. So while coming back home, we all were really excited that yes, we are going back. We're going to meet our parents after so long, after like 254 days.
Everybody back home was waiting for us. There were a lot of preparations going on to receive us.
We were few thousand miles from India,
we encountered a major emergency en route.
Close to Mauritius, our steering gear gave up.
We were stranded in the middle of the ocean for almost 12 hours.
Imagine a car without a steering.
After temporary repairs of the steering system, we managed to steer the boat slowly and steadily towards the nearest port, which was Mauritius.
So there we carried out our necessary repairs and headed back home.
On 21st of May 2018, we arrived back in our home port here in INS Mandovi.
Any father would feel very proud of their own children. I think the Navy, being the father, feels extremely proud of what these 6 women naval officers have accomplished. They have etched their names in history.
The all-women expedition was named Navika Sagar Parikrama, aligned with the Modi government's thrust for Nari Shakti or women power. The aim of the mission was to promote women empowerment. The 6 women officers trained for the project under Captain Dilip Donde, the first Indian to solo circumnavigate the globe. With inputs from Leena Sharma, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. The INSV Tarini went around the globe in 254 days. The biggest feature of this boat is that it was made under the Prime Minister's Make in India program.
Six women, a 55-foot sailing vessel, and a big blue planet to circumnavigate. It was the stuff of adventure movies and books. And the women were not found wanting. Sailing for over 8 months and covering 21,600 nautical miles, the all-women crew on board the Indian-built sailboat INSV Tarini completed a historic global circumnavigation voyage on 21st May 2018. The expedition saw them sail across 4 continents and 3 oceans. But the journey was not a cakewalk for the women. The crew and the vessel encountered rough seas on numerous occasions. The extremely cold climate coupled with stormy weather conditions made the task of circumnavigating the globe highly daunting and challenging. Let's start with the special sailboat. The indigenously built INSV Tarini is a cruising sloop built at the Aquarius shipyard in Goa. It was inducted in the Indian Navy on 18 February 2017. It has 6 sails, including the mainsail, head sails, downwind and storm sail, and is capable of sailing in extreme conditions. Measuring 55 feet in length, the mast custom built by Southern Spars is about 25 meters tall. The boat was named after famous Tara Tarini temple in Odisha. The voyage was also aimed at showcasing Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Make in India initiative on the international forum.
We have done a circumnavigation of the globe under sails in a very small indigenously built boat named INSV Tarini. It's a completely Indian naval sponsored activity. We are a team of 6 naval officers, all women officers, and we have been selected from different cadres.
Tarini underwent extensive sea trials before she was commissioned in the Indian Navy. Several improvements were incorporated in this ship based on experience gained from operating INSV Mahadei. Tarini is similar to her predecessor, the INSV Mahadei, which has travelled over 1,15,000 nautical miles during her 8 years of service. INSV Tarini had advanced Raymarine navigation suite and array of satellite communication systems for perfect navigation anywhere in the world.
Well, for their expedition, the Indian Navy needed some women officers who are not only brave but also with different abilities. Let's know all about their unique capabilities that made all the difference as a team.
Sea voyages are the toughest of all expeditions. It is challenging to undertake a journey surrounded only by water on all sides. At times, this water takes the form of gigantic sea waves, ocean storms, magnifies the heat from the scorching sun, and adds to the freezing cold to make the travelling many times more difficult. It's obvious that in such a scenario, selecting sailors is a daunting task. That's why some special women officers were selected for the task.
Few of us are air traffic controllers, few are education officers, and few are naval constructors. So before joining this particular project, we were into base establishments where we were performing our duties. But Navy selected us and trained us extensively for 3 years for this particular project, where we learned about the navigation, communication, sailing per se, because we had no idea about sailing before this.
These 6 women officers were selected from different naval cadres and all were given strict training for about 3 years in navigation and sailing. The team was led by Lieutenant Commander Vartika Joshi. She is from Pauri Garhwal district's Sayal Khet village in Uttarakhand. Her father, P.K. Joshi, is serving as a professor in Garhwal University. Her mother is a professor in Rishikesh University. Vartika Joshi joined the Indian Navy in 2010. She has already completed a campaign in INSV Mahadei. Another audacious crew member is Lieutenant Commander Pratibha Jamwal. She hails from Kullu in Himachal Pradesh. Before joining the Navy, Pratibha was studying engineering. She started sailing in 2012 and soon proved herself extraordinary in the campaigns. Pratibha is an air traffic control specialist in the Navy. Another important crew member is Lieutenant Aishwarya Buddapati. She belongs to Hyderabad. She did her studies from Hyderabad's Air Force Station. Aishwarya's father worked with CISF. She studied metallurgical engineering and has an experience of working with the DRDO. Aishwarya is working with Navy's technical wing. Lieutenant P. Swati hails from Vishakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh. Since childhood, she was fascinated by the Navy officers doing march past. Swati wanted to be a doctor, but at her father's behest, she joined the Navy. Swati was also a member of NCC's Navy Corps at the school. Lieutenant Vijaya Devi is also a member of this crew. She belongs to Manipur. She has done her post-graduation from Delhi University. Lieutenant Vijaya had not seen the sea before coming into the Navy. She also learnt swimming in the Navy. In fact, she was afraid of water. But with her zeal, she achieved what most of the women only dream of. Lieutenant Payal Gupta also belongs to Dehradun in Uttarakhand. Payal's father, Vinod Gupta, is a businessman and her mother, Neelam, homemaker. After completing her studies from Carmen School, she pursued her B.Tech from Dehradun. Payal wanted to go to the army, but she couldn't make through the SSB 5 times. Later, she came to Gurgaon and started working in a company. But Payal did not like the work, and with her hard work, Payal was selected for the Navy in 2012. These 6 daring Navy officers together faced the challenges in the sea for almost 8 months. From facing sea storms in Cape Horn and Falk Islands to the technical issues with sailing and steering, Vartika and Aishwarya were also troubled with frostbite. Vijaya had a persistent problem with vomiting. Whatever may have been the issues, together they achieved their goal.
एक आखिरी मैसेज क्या देना चाह रही हैं?
मैं यही मैसेज देना चाहती हूँ कि जो आपके ड्रीम्स हैं उनको फॉलो कीजिए और डेफिनेटली आप बिना डाउट के उसको अचीव कर पाएंगे. थैंक यू.
Around the world in 254 days, that has been the remarkable journey by 6 naval officers of the Indian Navy who circumnavigated the globe in around 8 months. Joining me right now are 6 naval officers who went ahead, broke all barriers and in fact made this country proud by daring to dream big. It is my honor to introduce you these 6 brave officers of the Indian Navy who went ahead and circumnavigated the globe. Joining me right now on the special special broadcast Lieutenant Commander Vartika Joshi, who's the skipper who led this entire expedition. Also along with me, her entire crew of naval officers, including Lieutenant Commander Pratibha Jamwal, Lieutenant Commander Swati P. To my right, I have Lieutenant Commander Ishwarya, Lieutenant Vijaya, and Lieutenant Payal Gupta. Thank you so much for joining us on this special broadcast. Let me start by talking to you. You've been the skipper. You led this entire expedition. One word, how does it feel to have successfully led this entire navigation? Were there apprehensions at the start?
Definitely there were apprehensions, anything which is a first for the country. And also for the world, it's the first navy which has attempted a circumnavigation. So definitely there were apprehensions, there were challenges in the beginning, but with a good planning and execution and a lot of hard work that went into it, we were able to have it done successfully. It's a very, very satisfying feeling to come back on land where the entire nation was waiting for you and was supporting you with their prayers and well wishes. So it's a great feeling.
It is certainly a very remarkable feat that all of you have collectively achieved. But if I'm not wrong, INS Sinvi Tarini is a small sailboat, and that itself is a big challenge to start with. What does Tarini mean to you?
Tarini is, I would say, our seventh team member. She's not just a boat, she's a home companion. And there is a saying that you take care of the boat takes care of you. So that is what we have experienced during our voyage. Though it's very small, but we have learned to live in those confined spaces and, to get along with the team over a period span of 3 years. We got trained for 3 years before setting for the voyage.
So 254 days is indeed a long journey. It is, of course, a family that we are looking at. What was that moment, a kind of a challenge when you were encountered with high waves, high seas? Was there a moment you felt that the seas are more empowering right now?
So the seas and the weather are the biggest challenge when we're going on such an expedition. But there were many such moments where we felt the seas are overpowering us. But when we are out there at sea, whether the sea is going to rule on you or you're ruling the sea, it depends on how much you're under control. So at any point of time, we made sure that we kept the boat under control. 6 of us were together in taking control of any challenging situation that came our way.
Also, when you started your voyage, you had to take a detour because the wind speed wasn't enough. What happened at that time? What was the kind of brainstorming that had actually gone inside?
Before the starting of the voyage, we have to go through a proper training procedure about all the condition which we are supposed to face during this entire voyage, like the weather condition. We have to be skillful. The seamen, we have to know about seamanship, the rock work, and we had to know about communication skill. Like we have the radio communication on board, and lot many things. Like it's not a single thing which we have to do. We went to various school of the Indian Navy, which is there in Southern Naval Command, the Seamanship School, the Navigating School, and many more. So like it was like we have to be prepared mentally. It was almost 2.5 years of brainstorming that we have gone through, and a bit of training and lots of training in the Indian coastline and to some foreign country like Mauritius. We have been twice, and to Cape Town once. So that helped us a lot.
So a collective teamwork and the kind of brainstorming that was put by all of you was one of the key elements that made sure that you achieved the goal. But more importantly, when we're talking about the entire voyage, was there a moment you felt that what you're about to achieve seems a little impossible, what you're looking at seems a little far-fetched?
I don't think so. I ever felt that, because two of our mentors, like before us, there have been two senior officers who have already done this, and they have done it like solo, and we are a team of 6. So it was actually a kind of luxury that we were having, because we had company also. So I never thought that it would be impossible. And also the training was so good and so tough that it made our mind it made us mentally prepared that we will achieve it.
Clearly, it was the training and also the kind of opportunity that was given that actually ensured that you reached your goal. But through your training process, the kind of techniques that you've learned, how easy was it or how good was it for you to understand how to steer through the night, to difficult terrains, through the entire course where the weather was really not in your favor?
The whole 3 years of training before going for this voyage was to make yourself comfortable in those confined environment, and you have no luxuries. The boat doesn't have even a fan inside the boat. People must be wondering there should be everything inside the boat. We can only have fresh vegetables only for the first 5 or 6 days. After that you're on purely on pulses and the dry provisions that you have. So we adopted so many things with sleeping for 2 hours at night and then waking up, because when you have an emergency you wake up from a deep sleep and then come outside, and then for the first 5 minutes if you wonder what should I do now, and then the emergency is over, the boat is off the control by then. But the first second that you get up from the sleep and when you get outside and have to work, the skipper don't have to even tell you what you should be doing. So we prepared our mind, and you won't believe when we are even in a deep sleep, no matter how hard the day went, how long the day was, but the immediate second when you wake up, any small screechy noise or anything, because as the wind picks up, the boat goes under control and you hear all those crazy noises about the ropes and the shackles banging onto each other, and then the sails flapping with the
At that point, did you ever feel that you're going towards a very impossible task? Or did it feel very far-fetched at that point?
The training was such a practically, and it was so well planned, starting from the construction of the boat till the boat was built. We know what fitted where inside the boat, starting from a small wooden piece to a nut. So everybody knew what was happening. So it wasn't a feeling at that point of time when we were sailing like we've been trained for 3 years just to sail for 8 months. So we've trained 2-3 times more than what we should be sailing. So it was like a cakewalk. I wouldn't say cakewalk because you can't predict what is going to happen, but it kept us always cautious to attempt to the emergencies that we had on board.
So clearly it was rigorous training and absolute vigil. That was one of the key. But talking about endurance, this entire fleet of remarkable achievement does require a lot of endurance, especially steering through hours to make sure that Tarini stays on the same track. How did you battle immense fatigue at that point?
That is a big challenge, and especially when you are in sub-zero temperatures and it's raining and you are cold. But then there's where your teamwork comes into play. Generally, it's like 2 people are on watch, and you alternately steering the boat for an hour or half an hour, whatever is convenient for you. But the people who are inside, which are off watch, they are not sleeping there. They'll be working towards it. They'll be warming some water for you. They will be warming your gloves. They'll be drying your clothes so that you are a little bit comfortable outside. So that's where your teamwork comes into play.
So teamwork also comes with having a really good skipper to lead the entire team. How difficult was it, or how easy was it to have a very flawless teamwork? It was a very coordinated effort that we are looking at the end of the day that made sure that you went ahead with 254 days. How difficult was that managing the entire team?
I wouldn't say it was difficult, because that's what we were trained for since last 3 years, to live together. We sailed almost 22,000 nautical miles before we actually embarked on this voyage, and all of this we sailed together as a team. So the entire idea was this, that as a team, how good we are gelling. So when we actually started this voyage, it didn't remain as difficult to me, because each member of the team by then we had known each other so well that we could understand each other's behavior and our own reactions to what we will do in case somebody is feeling down or if somebody is behaving erratic.
So it was a very emotional connect at the end of the day.
Yes, that's true, and that's what's makes this journey that much more memorable.
Did you have to take very important or very difficult decisions, something that would not be considered very conventional, but were you required to take a very difficult decision at that point? Was there any moment at that point?
I would say that, I had to take some decisions, which, like suppose when we lost our steering gear and we didn't have anything to do for half a day, we were just wondering what we will do with the broken steering and how are we going to steer the boat. We were headed to India and just 2,000 miles short, the system broke down. And all of us were, we were holding the system to make sure that the boat does not go out of control and we are able to hold her on course. So then I had to make a call whether we should divert to another port or whether, we head to India, make some temporary arrangements and take the boat to India. So there have been a couple of times like that, when I have to decide. But at the end of the day, my ultimate endeavor is that the expedition was in the best interest. Whatever decision I took was in the best interest of the team, the boat, and the Navy at the larger scale.
Talking about how this was a very difficult decision for you to make, for the entire team, if we talk about, there was a delay. The entire expedition was supposed to finish a month earlier, but because the steering wheel got damaged, you had to make some very important decisions. What was your reaction at that point when you found out that the steering wheel has been damaged? What was the kind of brainstorming that really went inside at that point?
So the main brainstorming was what's the next step to it. How our main aim was to first of all keep all 6 of us safe and get the best for the boat. We cannot go with a broken steerage all the way to India. So the discussion was to take a diversion to Mauritius. The decision was already made by the skipper and we stood by our decision. And the next way was how to find our way to Mauritius with limited, with all the limited facility to set up our sail. So we did our best, and from the area where our steerage system had given up and to Mauritius, they were about 180 miles. It's a distance that we could cover in a day if all our sails and setting we could use. But because of the broken, it took us 3 days to reach there. But then it did not dampen down our spirits, and we were all together and we took the boat to Mauritius safely.
Really, it did not dampen any of your spirits, but at that point, what was your biggest motivation when you were seeing kind of decisions being made, when you were making decisions of delaying it so that you can reach the next port? What was your biggest motivation?
First thing is that when we were heading from Cape Town to our home country, like we were very much happy that finally after such a long time we will be able to see our family. But when this happened, we were happy. We were been wished by the boat builder that you have that technically completed the circumnavigation because you have crossed Mauritius and now you are in Indian water. Just soon after that we had this steerage failure, and then like we 6 of us were on hills and those dance and we were trying to prepare it since morning. It was around 9 o'clock in the morning it happened, and we were trying to fix it and get hold of the rudder because we can't lose it. If we lose it, we can't maneuver or steer anywhere. So we took almost the day, and by 5 in the evening, like we were at least ready. Okay, now we can't use the mainsail, which is the big sail and which helps in speeding the boat, and without it, like we are not moving anywhere. The head sail, which are smaller, but it was a bit helpful. So we took almost 3 days, which was to reach Mauritius. So that was like an obstacle between us reaching home earlier. Like, so we were a little bit disheartened that this thing happened, but eventually now we are here, so we are happy.
Disheartened, but the spirit of Navy continues, yes. And you ensured that no matter what, this expedition is going to be successful. Yes. This is going to be etched in the history no matter what. But talking about how this has been an incredible journey for all of you, many wonder, how did you communicate with your family members? How were they aware of your whereabouts? And what was that feeling when you would talk to your loved ones?
Feeling was always great because before this voyage, in earlier voyages we were not having the communication system, so we used to just write the mails to our family, and then we used to wait for 2 days, 3 days, waiting for their mail so that we could just read what they have written back to us.
So what was the kind of messages that you would get, even from people, your friends, your family members?
But I would like to mention something before that, thanks to our OIC, Captain Atul Sinha, that he actually saw this loop, and he actually helped us out that you should have this communication system on board, the satellite communication, through which we could actually do WhatsApp call at our home. Like, so this was the best thing, I think.
So how often would you be able to communicate with your family members?
It was limited, just 100 MB data used to be there for each of us. So I think twice in a week we could have called them.
With this, it has been actually a boon in a lot of ways, where you were able to communicate, you were able to have access to what is happening in the outside world, particularly to the digital world and social media, who were thrilled with the kind of pictures, videos, photographs that have been put out, especially of a white shark, which actually a lot of people were commenting. How motivational was it when you were reading those comments and people knowing the progress of where the voyage has reached?
It was motivating us because we wanted to show the entire world what we are experiencing, because it's very rare and you only find them in the wild oceans when you go out there. It's not possible for everyone to go there. We just wanted to spread our eyes and then show whatever we could. But yes, in fact, it's very motivational. And when the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister continuously tweeted, it kept us always motivated, and the families, they continuously seeing what we are doing and what we are eating, and we used to keep it very interactive, very social friendly. Absolutely. That's how actually the news actually spread. Otherwise, the first two circumnavigations, the technology was not that good. That's why they couldn't share anything. Leaving a book, writing a book after that. But otherwise, this was quite interactive. And
so, who spotted the white shark first, and what was the kind of atmosphere on the sailboat?
Myself and Lieutenant Commander Aishwarya were on the watch, and I went inside, and she was on the wheel facing the boat. And then I came outside to see the clouds and all, and I saw a surface with the black spots, like a polka dots or something like that. And then I thought, what is this? I went inside, I called everyone, come outside, you need to see this. It was with us for almost an hour. Almost an hour. And we thought it'll run away, because we had a chopper right on top of us clicking photographs for us, and we thought it'll run away with the noise. But I think she got attracted by the sloop, the boat itself, and she was continuously circling the boat and giving us a great show.
So we also saw a lot of selfies that were also being clicked on board with that.
We also had a hashtag selfie with the shark.
I think that garnered a lot of response on social media, because everybody was thrilled to see what was happening and the kind of voyage that you had all encompassed. But who has been your role model, a mentor of sorts, to make sure that this entire journey remains successful?
There have been, to this journey, we have a lot of people to thank too. Especially, there are many unsung heroes, which I will not be able to name all of them. But the conceptualization of this particular project was of one of the retired admirals. He's in his 90s now, Admiral Manohar Awati. And thereafter, in 2009-10, this idea was further taken up by Indian Navy. Captain Dilip Dhonde, who's retired now, he did his first circumnavigation in 2009, and at that time Chief of Naval Staff was Admiral Arun Prakash, who helped in this project a lot. And thereafter, in 2012, it was again done by an Indian naval officer, Commander Abhilash Tomy. So Commander Abhilash Tomy and Commander Dilip Dhonde, mainly Commander Dilip Dhonde, they have been our mentors, and they've seen this voyage throughout, since the conceptualization till the completion of this voyage.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us, and more accolades for the kind of journey that you have encompassed. There is going to be, it has made the country proud, is what we can say at this point. 6 naval officers who circumnavigated the globe made the country proud. Their inspiration certainly will be etched in the history. More importantly, the manner in which the teamwork, the dedication and the effort that has been put by each and every naval officer has certainly said one thing, that they have dared to dream big.
first thing that was told to us when we joined this particular expedition was to leave our gender outside the boat.
The gender does not affect what you're doing. So I don't think अगर एक लड़का होता तो क्या करता, that thought never occurred to us. We were away for 8 months.
We have different kind of experience that we encountered during our voyage.
We were training so hard for 3 years to just start, and once you start, then there is no looking back.
Parents and families were more confident than us that yes, they will be able to go out and achieve it.
I'm Lieutenant Commander Aishwarya Potapati.
Lieutenant Commander Vartika Joshi. I was this
Commander Patralapalli Swati. I was looking after the navigation and communication of the boat.
It's a mix of emotions that we go through right from the time we start. Initially, when we had volunteered for this voyage, I was skeptic. How am I going to be at sea?
These are your internal challenges. You are staying in closed spaces for so many days.
Even in the biting cold of the Pacific Ocean, we managed to take showers with the cold water.
I think it's important for everybody to address the things that back them down.
The easiest thing I did was I took my parents out to sea with me for a day, and they saw what we are doing. They knew that this is what she wants to do.
The voyages like these, they change your overall perception towards a lot of things.
There is not only one way to do a certain things, but there are many ways in which there is an approach to a task. Through this voyage, there are many barriers and stereotypes that we have broken, and one of them is that women cannot get along when they are together.
Wisdom lies in staying neutral sometimes and stop becoming judgmental on a lot of things.
It's an example in front of you that if the girls, all the 6 of us can go around the world, what else you can't think of doing.